Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, December 11th, 2023. On the show today, news, surveys, and listener questions about the U.S. legal system and the supernatural. Then in our main segment, Jim talks about how Epcot's Listen to the Land became Epcot's Living with the Land. Let's get started by bringing in the man who really wants to be visited by 3 ghosts this Christmas who tell them what he's been doing wrong because he needs all the help he can get. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Yeah, I mean, if Charles Dickens can, send those guys my way, I'd really appreciate that, especially the Ghost of Christmas Future, just sort of like, especially, if he could give me a line on what the hot gifts are going into 2024, that would be really helpful.
I mean, haunting ghosts or life coaches, you decide, right? All right, Jim, let's do a quick shout out to subscribers over at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media. Thanks to new subscribers Radcon, Kelly McCubbin, Jeff Voughton, and Not Jake Pearson. And the longtime subscribers Sniffles54, WhereInThePark.com, Hedden Coleman, and Daniel Gallagher. Jim, these are the Hallmark Channel scientists nominated for the Nobel Prize for developing a breakthrough second film plot for Hallmark's Christmas movies in 2024. They say despite being stuck in Hallmark's big city research labs pretty much nonstop for the last couple of years and not having the time for family or relationships, they're looking forward to spending this Christmas back in the small town where they grew up, reconnecting with the friends who never left and... Hey, wait a minute. Who wrote this anyway?
Wow.
Anyway, true story.
Okay. Just to put an extra layer on this bit, as soon as Len and I finish recording this week's show, Nancy and I climb in the car, drive down to Edison, New Jersey, where for the next 3 days, Nancy will be attending Christmas Con, which is a celebration of all things Hallmark Christmas movie related. So
I threw this in just because you could do this. This was my story. I've had this for 2 weeks.
Oh, cool. Okay, there we go. And we'll let them know about the whole second plot thing. That they'll be very excited. So
I love that the annual Christmas convention is in New Jersey. That seems super fitting to me somehow. I don't know why.
Oh, and it's in a pretty bleak industrial park as well, Len.
It's an industrial park in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, Jim, Christmas is in your heart.
There we
All
go.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, a quick reminder. We're moving the show off of Bandcamp and onto Patreon, beginning with our show on January 1st, 2024. So that's just a couple of weeks away. And we've just released our 3rd video with Imagineer Jim Scholl, who helped build Disney MGM Studios, on how that park went from a half-day soundstage tour to one of Walt Disney World's big 4 theme parks. Sign up at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media, and don't forget to close down your Bandcamp subscription after that. All right, on to the news. Folks, the news is brought to you by touringplans.com. Touring Plans helps you save time and money at theme parks like Walt Disney World. Check us out at touringplans.com. All right, to Jim, you, me, and Jim Scholl participated in the 3rd annual Gingerbread Snapdown last week. The events included a cookie stroll through Epcot and the Gingerbread Snapdown event itself. Now, a couple of interesting things here. We expected 20 to 40 people, and then nearly 100 showed up.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Had to find a lot more space very, very quickly inside of Epcot, but we did it. That was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, the Epcot cookie stroll happened first, and this was supposed to be a casual, fun event where small teams went around the country to sample holiday food, and then Christina, as you all know, added gift cards as prizes, and all of a sudden this became Mad Max Christmas Thunderdome in World Showcase. So the idea was that she was going to give prizes to the teams who found 3 specific cookies in World Showcase and then brought photo proof of them back to Christina. But what Christina didn't say, and let me just add here that vague and flexible rules is kind of a feature of Gingerbread Weekend. What Christina didn't say is that she was allowed to run away from people trying to find her. Jim, I have never seen light up Christmas sweaters move that fast.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, we also did the gingerbread challenge over at Sunshine Seasons at the Land Pavilion, which we're going to talk about later on in the show. We had exactly 10 minutes and 22 seconds to create a gingerbread house from a boxed kit, and cheating was actively encouraged. I'm pretty sure that really happened too, based on how good some of those houses turned out. Some of them had custom lighting kits, preformed background, trees. A lot of them had trees. like you've been working on bonsai for this for how long? I swear to God, Jim, we were like one model railroad away from the cover of Good Housekeeping.
There were some very ambitious people competing this year, so.
It was fantastic. Anyway, the real purpose of the event is to give presents to small children, including a Lego set so large that I'm pretty sure that the parents had to check bags at the airport. And to them, I say, you knew the risks. Anyway, It was a lot of fun, and thanks to everyone who came out. Also, the other interesting thing that I learned last weekend, Jim, was that I now know what it's like to bring 97 gingerbread houses through Epcot security. They didn't bat an eye.
Well, now, that's not entirely true. Remember, the one thing they did want to check was, what was it? That your sister brought?
Plastic knives.
Plastic knives.
Yeah, we brought in, Chrissy bought a box of cutlery to, help with the icing and stuff. And the only, we bring in nearly 100 gingerbread kits. We bring in half a dozen bags of prizes. All of that went through, pretty quickly. They figured that out, but they really did want to go through the plastic cutlery to make sure there was no metal in there, and that was the only thing they were concerned about. So, hats off to security for being very effective.
No. But on the other hand, if they'd really thought about it, given how hard those pieces of gingerbread were, you could have easily bludgeoned 5 people with one of those things. So.
I sampled some of the houses afterwards because it's like Paul Hollywood says it has to look good and taste good, right? And some of them were delightful. Some of the gingerbread was actually good. And then some of the non-gingerbread accoutrements were, let's say, what's the phrase? Not worth the calories? Is that the?
Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Okay.
But overall, a lot of fun. We had a hoot, and thanks to everyone who came out. Also, speaking of Epcot, World Celebration Gardens opened this past week. The shops haven't opened, but now most of the walking paths are available, and there's still some construction walls, but this is definitely a big opening there, so that looks good. Also, LuminoUS, the Symphony of Us, the new Epcot fireworks show, debuted last week as well. Have you seen video of this, Jim?
I have. What's kind of interesting to me is it's kind of a return to form. It's like, okay, let's go back to the basics, but let's do the basics as well as we've ever done the basics. So,
yeah, I mean that was exactly my feeling. That I think I told Chrissy after watching it, like, this is basically the rebound boyfriend of fireworks shows. Like, we're playing it safe. We're not going to take any risks here. This may not be the long-term solution, but it's fine for now. Yeah,
that's forget about the Symphony of Us. That's it from now on. LuminoUS, the rebound boyfriend. That
fireworks shows. Yeah. So a couple of things. 16-minute show, so 4 minutes shorter than Harmonious. The new addition is perimeter cannons for fireworks, and those are amazing. Also, great viewing spots all around World Showcase Lagoon, so that's a big improvement from Harmonious. I thought the highlights were like the color choices for the lasers, the lighting effects were on point, and the fireworks were very good. Whoever's been doing those for Epcot has been on a run lately, doing great stuff. So good there. I thought the pacing was a little uneven. There's a couple of slow points in the first half of the show that give it sort of an up and down feeling there. Like, there's this one moment about 10 minutes in where it's like, everyone is going to die. But that's going to be fine. Okay. How many dinners are you going to sell based off that? I'm not sure, but anyway.
Remember the Walt Disney credo: for every laugh there needs to be a tear. So
yeah. So that was but I mean, overall, I thought, to your point, the show was safe. A straightforward concept, songs and fireworks are always good. No risky moves with effect, no weird concepts or themes.
No.
The couple of bits of original music I thought were basically connective threads to songs everyone has seen and heard. So overall, it's a decent show. I think people enjoy it, so that's good.
Just one quick side note here, because we're going to talk in a moment about the opening of the World Celebration Garden. And remember, when the plans were initially unveiled in 2019 for the Epcot redo, we had the festival center, that 3-story structure, the island in the sky.
Yeah.
And I recently had somebody in entertainment reach out to say the moment they canceled that, Harmonious was doomed. That, the whole notion was it was the people who were going to be up on that island for the private event that were going to have the beauty shot of all of Harmonious. They were able to look down at the lake and see all the things play out. And not only that, they were going to be at the perfect height for those
angle.
That's it exactly. That they were going to be placed to see all of the effects dead on, and they were the ones who were going to come down off of this 3-story perch and evangelize for it. And it's just, but the folks who were working on the show, as soon as they heard that's off the table, it's like, we're doomed. That no one will see the show as we intended it to be seen. So that, to me, is interesting about Luminous. The whole notion of, we're going back to everybody standing around World Showcase gets a great show. It's not a question of, those 300 to 500 people up in the island in the sky who see it dead on, with their complimentary cocktails, get the beauty shot and get to come down and evangelize. This has to be a great show for everyone. So.
Yeah, I think, so you and I have talked to the Imagineers who worked on these things. So, we're getting it directly from the source. This story is totally true. But I think one of the things that it shows is how committed Bob Chapek was to considering first the feelings of the people who were paying the most to get in the parks, right? How skewed it was towards the very big spenders. Like, we're going to do an Epcot show, and it's going to be okay for a lot of people. But man, if you wanted to spend the money to rent out the 3rd floor of this new facility we're building, man, you're going to have the best time ever. Yeah, that's just not, but I think there's this cycle where every couple decades, Disney has to relearn some of the basic concepts of running a theme park successfully. And this is one of those things.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So
yeah. All right. And you mentioned World Celebrations Garden. It opened. We've got the new Walt partner statue sitting there. So on Wednesday, an hour-long line to get a photo with bronze Walt.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, they're going to be, again, what's been kind of interesting. The daytime reviews weren't as passionate or positive as the nighttime reviews were.
The nighttime reviews, exactly. Yeah. Again, the lighting package. Whoever's doing the lighting at Epcot, you are a fantastic person. Yeah. I also love the new stuff for Spaceship Earth that they debuted. I think during Harmonious there was a little shout out to Illuminations in there. Again, whoever's doing the lighting package on Spaceship Earth, you understand Epcot in a way that a lot of other people don't. So keep doing whatever you're doing.
This is true.
The other thing that I think I wanted to mention was, now that a lot of Future World Celebration or whatever is open, you and I were sitting waiting for Jim Schull at the Connections Cafe in Epcot. And we took Jim Schull around, former Imagineer Jim Schull, around to show him the display kitchens in Connections. And I think we all loved those things because on one side, people were making pizzas. And then on the other side, they were making this really intricate German layered cake. And the great thing for me was that guests could see all of these things being made. Now, we've all seen pizza made before, but the mechanism and the special tools needed to make a cylindrical layered cake was new to me. And Jim Schull's over there taking pictures of it going, this is what Epcot is supposed to be. And I'm like, Jim, you're preaching to the choir here. Like, this is what Epcot is supposed to be. Yeah, it was fantastic.
No, they've done some nice work there. They really have. Yeah,
I mean, so we're seeing some promising things. We just need more of it and faster, hopefully. So, All right, cool. All right, Jim, we have time for a couple of surveys. Kathy Evans sent in a new Universal Orlando survey asking which name for tickets sounds best to you. And Kathy got 70 different ticket name options. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but I'll go through a few of them. One of them is called the Universal Orlando Fun Ticket, Florida Fun Ticket, Unlimited Florida Fun Ticket, Chills to Thrills Pass Ticket. And see, when I saw that one, Jim, I was like, Chills to Thrills Pass Ticket, if they could throw the word admission and media in there. Chills to Thrills Pass Ticket Admission Media, I think that's the way to go. But they've also got different versions on this. So it's like the Taco Bell menu where you've got 6 ingredients, but you're going to combine them in, 720 different ways.
Yeah, they what is it? The you go, the you play, as in universal,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I actually didn't get that the first time I read it. Okay. So way over my head there. Yeah. The unlimited 2 park to park ticket, the unlimited thrills and chills ticket. And then they've got a few more. The mega ticket, which to me sounds like a lottery. I'm not sure they're going to go with that.
Yeah. But
the infinite fun ticket, and then the unlimited 3 park to park ticket. Yeah, so they got a few going on there.
Okay, and it's important to understand here that Universal is always a little cagey when it comes to names. I remember, when they relaunched the resort in 1999 as Universal Escape, and that crashed and burned.
That lasted 8 minutes.
Yeah, it confused more people than it excited. So I think the fact that and just the whole notion that Universal is laying out 70 potential names is like, please tell us what we have no clue. So it's like,
the thing I liked about this survey was the question at the end that asked you why you picked the names you picked, and the survey answers there, I think, lead directly to how Universal is going to market these tickets. So here's some examples. So let's say you picked Universal Orlando Access Ticket, Admission Media, Entry, whatever, for your name. Then it asks, why are you more likely to select this ticket name? And then the options are, it sounds the most fun, it'll cover the right number of days for my visit, it sounds the most exciting, it includes the most options, it tells you the most information about what you're getting, it provides the most savings, provides the most value, and so on. And I think that whatever box you check there goes into a bucket, and the biggest bucket basically leads to the marketing slogan that you use there. And we've seen this before, right? So remember when we talked about how when Disney names its new restaurants like Toledo Tapas Steaks and Seafood or whatever, that Disney's basically putting the entire menu in the name of the restaurant, so you know exactly what you're getting, which helps people on their phones understand, what the restaurant serves. But it's great for search engine optimization. I think the same thing is true here. They're going to want a ticket name that describes exactly what you're getting, so there's no confusion about it.
No, makes sense. It just, but again, it tells you so much about the world we live in now. The notion of this isn't for the person using the guide map. This is for the person using their phone.
The other interesting thing about this, and we just went through a whole new site redesign on touringplans.com, so I kind of understand this issue. But one of the things that theme parks face is that they have unique offerings that aren't typical at other destinations. Like the idea of a ride reservation system probably doesn't make sense if you're going to the beach, right? But how do you describe a ride reservation system in the small amount of real estate that you have on a cell phone, right? To somebody who's probably not reading every word, they're skimming, right? So again, the choice of ticket name has to convey everything that you're getting in the name. Yeah. So the canonical example I give is, what's a Genie Plus? If you don't know what it is, right? Yeah. So
no, that's an excellent observation. Okay.
All right, Jim. Another interesting Universal Studios survey. This one from Hollywood, from a listener who wants to remain anonymous. And I mention this, Jim, because 1, it's a new survey, and 2, it asks some really interesting questions about the Universal Studios Hollywood Studio Tour, which I think you'll agree, Jim, is the backbone of the Universal Studios Hollywood experience, right?
True.
All right, so here's a question. Now, think about the movies or intellectual properties that could be featured at Universal Studios Hollywood. Which statement do you agree with the most? And there are two. There could be multiple rides and attractions based on a single movie if the execution is different. Or there should only be one ride or attraction based on a movie or IP at Universal. Now, we know, Jim, that Universal has Harry Potter stuff in every theme park, right? And sometimes multiple things. What are they going with here? Are they trying to avoid overload or too much concentration? What are they going for here with this question?
I have been hearing from multiple sources at this point that Mark Woodbury, the new head of the Universal Parks and Experiences, that he really wants to lean into the Universal owned IP as opposed to things like Potter that they have to license. So, we're talking about things like Trolls. We're talking about things like Shrek, the Despicable Me. And so, and it's worth noting that just in the past year, for example, at Universal Studios Orlando, we had the Villain Con Minions Blast open up directly across the street from the Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, a ride that's been there since 2012, 2013. And that's just up the road from the Minions Cafe. That what you're seeing is a lot of Universal sort of leaning into creating mini lands in the park, built around individual IPs. In fact, just next year, where the Woody Woodpecker's Nut House coaster and the Barney attraction, we're getting DreamWorks Land built in Florida. So this is kind of intriguing that they're asking about how okay would you be about a land having multiple rides built around instead of characters, opposed to one big ride built around characters. So, well,
I mean, I think the thing that we've seen from Harry Potter is if you do it right, you could have multiple rides based on a single franchise, right? Where I think we're all okay with everything that Universal's done with the Harry Potter stuff. Yeah. The question is like, is the Trolls universe diverse enough to support an entire land?
There you go.
And that's an existential question, Jim. I mean, that's something that each of us has to answer for ourselves there.
Yeah. But at the same time, the interesting thing with the Trolls, remember, we just had the third Trolls film come out.
Right.
I want to say there have been 2 Trolls holiday specials to date. It's one of those things where they've had walk around characters in the park. They've had pop up experiences in New York City. I mean, that's the thing. From the Universal side of the fence, it's like, laugh if you will, but Trolls is a property we're invested in, and we see a future in the parks.
It makes regular reliable money, right? Even if it's $50 million, per film, it's $50 million, right? I would love to see at Universal, how like in theme parks, like and then in City Walk or in Disney Springs, you see people who will do hair braiding. I would love to see a troll hair place where your kids get their hair spiked like a troll. Like, why are we not, and dyed pink or green or whatever? Like, why hasn't that been a thing yet? Because think of the photo ops for that.
There's somebody who's follically impaired. I am signing up for this, Len.
Wigs, Jim, wigs. We can do a lot these days with extensions.
Okay.
All right. Continuing on with the survey, there's a couple of other interesting questions. Below, you'll find pairs of statements. Within each pair of statements, select a button that best expresses the extent of your agreement with the statements. And so this one's about the studio tour. And it's things like, I have a sentimental attachment to the studio tour, or it's just an attraction to me. And so, Jim, the narrowing down here on the studio tour is kind of interesting, I think, because, correct me if I'm wrong here, the big concern with the studio tour isn't its popularity. It's 2 things. It's very expensive to operate, and it takes up a ton of space in the Universal Studios Hollywood park. Is that
This is true. This is true.
Okay.
Also, worth noting on social media just this week, folks were noting to the effect of the tram tour down on the lower lot, avoided what is it? Six Corners, the Western area, Little Europe.
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the questions in the survey is how would you rate each of the following segments of the tour? And one of them is 6 Points, Texas, Western Street Set. But Jim, here's the thing: if you want to start a fight at your next holiday meal, and you're going to go on the road with Nancy, so maybe this is a good time for you to pop this question. Here's what you ask your family. It's from the survey. Imagine that you're responsible for selecting the next update to the studio tour. What segment would you remove so that new content could be added? So Wisteria Lane, Desperate Housewives, Jaws, Earthquake, and so on. And then what would you add? So the options that they selected to add, it's a pretty extensive list. You mentioned Trolls, that's there. Land Before Time. But Laurel and I were going over this, and Laurel pointed out that both Animal House, The Breakfast Club, and Cats, also Oppenheimer, were things that you could add. Like, I would like to see a mashup of those four things.
Oh.
Like, can we get Ali Sheedy in a Cat's costume talking to Robert Oppenheimer? I think that would be...
Okay. Wow. All right. That's one ambitious stop on the tram tour.
Also, Scarface and the Blues Brothers.
Wow.
And I would just like to respond to Universal here and say, ¿por qué no las dos? Like, why can't we have both? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, it just, for me, the fact that they have put together a list of possible franchises that they could bring into the park, it sort of reinforces, what we're hearing, the notion of, and in fact, the question at the very top to the effect of, do you have a sentimental attachment to the tram tour?
Right.
That's where it's gotten kind of interesting with Universal. The Universal parks have now been around long enough, and people have visited multiple times, that they are starting to verge on what Disney has, that it catches you in the fields, to the effect of it's
a tradition. You've been here, yeah.
There we go. So, going to be fascinated to see how this plays out. So.
Yeah, I love it. I love to see what's happening. It also shows that Universal is really committed not only to building new parks, but to updating the ones that they've got. So I think that's great.
There we go.
All right, Jim, we've got time for one listener question. This one was sent in by Jason K. after we mentioned the new Hatbox Ghost Edition coming to Walt Disney World. And Jason says this: according to the Ghost host, there were 999 Happy Haunts living in the mansion, and there was room for 1,000. Now that they've publicly added one, the Hatbox Ghost, do they officially remove one, at least in the narrative? We wouldn't want the mansion to be full and not able to accept any more ghosts. Or is the Hatbox Ghost positioned prior to the official count of ghosts? And Jim, I think this question is more evidence that the Hatbox Ghost is one of the most base-breaking additions to Disney's park in recent years. It's the thing that's going to divide us for generations to come. And I say that because in researching the explanation that Disney uses to justify the Hatbox Ghost in Walt Disney World, like I parsed the individual words, I felt like I was studying for some new section of the LSAT on supernatural law. Oh. Okay. And to that end, Jim, here's some things I learned while researching this. Number one, when you're selling a house, if your house is haunted, you have to disclose poltergeists to prospective home buyers. Did you know this?
I did not know that.
There's actual case law, the 1991 court case of Stambovsky versus Ackley, that says if your house is said to be haunted, you have to disclose to potential purchasers that they're aware of this. Also, did you know that you can't sue Satan in the U.S. to get out of an eternal contract? The U.S. courts would consider Satan a foreign sovereign and thus not within U.S. jurisdiction.
Oh. Hey.
The things you learn researching this show.
All right.
Anyway, to Jason's question, Disney's explanation is that if you listen to the dialogue, it says 999 happy haunts, but the Hatbox Ghost is not a happy haunt. He's malevolent and thus doesn't count towards the 999 total. So, Jason, there's still room for one more.
Oh, okay.
The L sound on Supernatural Law. That's gotta be in a TV show at some point, right?
I think we have just hit upon the third film in the Ghostbusters reboot. So.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim tells us how Listen to the Land became Living with the Land. Just make believe you're a tiny little seed, and we'll be right back.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
And we're back. All right, for those of you following along on the show notes, I've added a YouTube video link for the original Listen to the Land ride through, and also a link to background music to get you guys in the mood for more. All right, Jim. But we spent a lot of time in the land last week.
We did. In fact, I honestly felt kind of bad. We grabbed an entire corner of the food court in Sunshine Seasons, and in fact, we were right up against the lower exit door for I still want to call the film that's shown there Symbiosis.
Awesome Planet.
Yeah, but what was so funny was to watch the doors open and people come out and it's like, what is this? How do I get in on this?
We're all covered in icing. Yep. It smells like gingerbread. Mm-hmm. People are screaming. I'm running around trying to knock over people's houses. It was utter chaos. Yep. And so for the people coming out of Awesome Planet, it was like, what's happened in the last 12 minutes?
There you go. Let me explain, folks. The original plan for the day is Len was going to lead everybody who showed up for a Gingersnap challenge on a group ride in Spaceship Earth, but that was down for maintenance the better part of that day, and so we sort of de facto moved over to the Land Pavilion and did Living with the Land, and and again, remember that this was an opening day attraction back in '82, and has the boat ride show at its very center. Follows, you see the initial show scenes that beginning, then you pass through the living laboratory, which tells a slightly different message than previously. In fact, when this feature attraction was initially in development, it was kind of fashionable to have a bleak take on the future. Movies like Soylent Green suggested that we, eventually had to run out of food and wind up eating each other, or there was going to be a nuclear holocaust and the apes would take over. By the way, did you see that, remember, because Disney bought Fox back in 2019, and to be specific, certain film and television elements, we are about to get the first Disney-produced Planet of the Apes movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that's right. That's next year, right? When?
May 2024. And,
right, yeah.
I can't help but the Magic Kingdom of the Apes. Hey, are we finally going to see these characters in the park? And here's the interesting thing, Len. If they were to come into the Disney parks, it would be the second time the Planet of the Apes characters came into the parks.
Someone licensed the Planet of the Apes characters for a theme park?
Well, sort of. What ended up happening? June of 1973. 20th Century Fox enters into a long-term lease with the folks who own Marineland of the Pacific. This was an 85-acre oceanographic park. Actually predated Disneyland by a full year.
Is this the one that's like on a cliff?
It is. In
fact, I think you and I've talked about this like offline. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, what's kind of interesting is when the park closed in '87 and got flattened. It's since become a beloved film location. In fact, if you've seen either of the first two Pirates of the Caribbean movies, you've seen this location. This is where Jack Sparrow and Will Turner were supposed to be hung at the end of the first film, Curse of the Black
Really?
Bull.
That's there?
That's right there. And on the other hand, if you caught the second film, Dead Man's Chest, this is where Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann were supposed to be married before he was, carted off. So you've seen the location, folks. It's beautiful. And so Fox, Fox looked at what Disney was doing and Universal was doing and decided we want to get into the theme park business. We lease this well-developed property. I mean, it has a 3,000-seat arena for its Killer Whale show. It's got a 1,500 car parking lot. So it's like, all right, we can be a player with this. So they pivot. After they've signed this deal, they pivot to their then in-house hitmaker, who is Irwin Allen, the producer of The Poseidon Adventure and The Towering Inferno, who fancied himself the next Walt Disney. In fact, kind of bizarre, on the heels of the success of The Poseidon Adventure, Irwin Allen actually at one time proposed building a theme park right next to the Queen Mary, which, remember, Disney also, kicked the tire.
Made a run at,
yeah. So anyway, Irwin, Irwin's tasked to, turn Marineland of the Pacific into a 20th Century Fox themed theme park. So, he immediately raids that studio's costume library and puts teenagers in the Planet of the Apes costumes and send them out into the park, which, of course, totally fits.
Jim, which is just the best idea I've ever heard for live entertainment in a theme park. Yes. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay, but if you remember from the original Planet of the Apes movies, the gorillas, the gorilla guards are dressed all in black leather. They have, thick black fur, a full black face mask.
Oh, in California.
And the poor teenagers
during the summer.
15 minutes out during the set were keeling over in the park, from heat exhaustion. So, But Irwin, is so convinced, I can make this work. Which is why for December of 1974, it is announced that Marineland of the Pacific, now owned by 20th Century Fox, is about to present Winter Wonderland. The studio was going to actually spent $500,000. It hired 212 craftsmen to come into the park and to transform it into this amazing Christmas themed environment. It was going to have a giant alpine slide. It was going to have a train called the Snowball Express, not to mention the world's largest Christmas tree, rising over 403 feet above sea level. They also tease the idea that you're going to get to see Santa, ride a dolphin or hang out with Corky and Orky, that theme park's two killer whales.
Jim, let me just say, it's the guy who did the Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno. And if he applies the same skills to a Christmas theme thing, this is either going to be the greatest show ever or the worst possible idea in the history of humanity.
Let's go with the latter, Len. Okay, I think you got it in one. Okay, so what ends up happening is that they promise that we're going to have 1,000 tons of real live snow, and so they tell the children of Southern California to dress warmly when they come out to the park. And turns out it's when they go to do this, and it starts December 21st, 1974. It's 70 degrees out, Len. If you're a child who wants to play with real life snow, you have to go to the Snow Bowl, which turns out to be a long wooden table with snow piled on it. And, every child, every child was allowed to sit down for 5 minutes and play in the snow. And then it's like, okay, next, moving along.
Wow.
And
all right.
it was a disaster. That particularly all of these kids in their their heavy woolen coats and galoshes trotting around the 70-degree thing, and the interesting thing is it went so badly, and they got sued by so many theme park patrons that Irwin's relationship with 20th Century Fox fell apart just 6 months after Winter Wonderland at Marineland of the Pacific. Irwin left Fox to then go make movies for Warner Brothers, and then just 2 years after that, in 1978, Fox decides, we really don't want to be in the theme park business. So they sell the place off. But all right, anyway, getting back now to Epcot.
All right, yeah. So we're in a period here in the 70s where we've got movies like Planet of the Apes that are showing a bleak future.
They are. And,
for the Earth. Okay, go ahead.
And that's the thing. The Land Pavilion, has this problem. They have to deal with, for example, this is the central message of this Future World Pavilion. This comes from the actual literature that Disney provided when the park first opened. As the world's population continues to grow, man's ability to survive will depend on his ability to create technology that will provide food for the world's people. This is the essence of the land. By developing a symbiotic relationship with the Earth, a creative partnership, the Earth's potentialities allow us to be optimistic about the future. That said, the farms of the future will have to make the best use of land space and will have to overcome problems like water supply and irrigation, accurate weather predictions, and pest control. So,
it's kind of a Malthusian message, right? Like, we're all gonna fight for food in the future. This is how it's gonna look.
And it's just, it's a tough love message. Effectively.
Yeah, you're not selling a lot of T-shirts at the end of this one.
We can feed the world if we are realistic about the problems we actually face on this planet. And
but again, it was of the time, right? The 70s had these sort of like, what's technology going to do to us messages? Okay, go ahead.
All right, but again, from the company that brought you a spoonful of sugar, it helps the medicine go down. This is a really bitter pill, Len. How do you make this palatable in a theme park?
Not only that, but I mean, how do you get a sponsor for that? All right. So they got some challenges.
Okay,
right,
so Disney found the solution to this problem in the wine cellar at the Newport Inn in Newport Beach, California. This is where singer-songwriter Bob Moline had been performing in the mid to late 1970s. And Bob came on the Imagineers' radar when he wrote It Can Only Happen at Disneyland, a theme song that theme park used for a very successful promotional campaign just prior to Disneyland's 25th anniversary celebration in 1980. And so finding It Can Only Happen at Disneyland to be something of an earworm, the Imagineers then turned to Bob and gave him 3 Epcot-related assignments. They need a closing number for the Circle Vision show that will be presented in the Canada Pavilion at World Showcase. Similarly, they need a closing number for the American Adventure. And then finally, some sort of theme song for the Land Pavilion that makes, this, well, we better get our act together or we're all going to starve,
Sorry, I choked there for a second. Wait, are you saying that Bob Moline did the Lifetime Journey song?
There we go.
Golden Dreams and Listen to the Land?
He did.
One guy?
Dude,
I mean, I think I speak for all theme park fans when I say those are straight bangers.
No, they are.
The kids,
they
right?
are. I mean, and they delivered the goods.
So, Jim, when I think of Listen to the Land, I think of John Denver on Happy Pills singing that song. That's how positive that song is.
But I mean, again, he nailed the tone, the style in one, and now, mind you, I'm not sure Disney would have gone with these same lyrics today. I mean, make believe you're a tiny little seed that's reaching out to meet your need, and with the right amount of faith and right amount of earth, you'll grow to see the sunshine on your day of birth. I think, now, it's worth noting that Kraft sponsors the land, through the fall of 1992. It officially.
All right, so from opening day until
Yeah.
1992?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so they're opening day sponsor. Okay, cool.
Okay. And then they withdraw as sponsor of this Future World attraction, September 26th of that same year. It takes Disney a full year to get Nestle's on board. They don't begin the actual retooling of freshening up of this Future World attraction till September of '93, and worth noting that when they did the redo, I mean, how many of you remember the original Listen to the Land setup? I mean, you went into this
Plasticine.
That's exactly giant leaves, roots, stems.
Yeah. And they were very colorful, like pink and orange and red plants. Yeah, and then they switched. This is where they switched over to the biomes, right? The rainforest and
they did. In fact, what's kind of interesting is the new opening for this attraction is you come across what appears to be a really violent storm, and you're supposed to be concerned. But then the narration, and that's the other thing that's worth noting, Len, is remember, this used to be an attraction with a live host on board who spieled, that we went from having a cast member on board each of the boats to now having, a spiel that played as we moved past certain scenes. But, the whole notion here was that we see a violent storm, but this is actually a necessary part of the process here on the planet, the flash floods and that sort of thing will make it that much more possible for seeds to spread and things to grow in different areas and that sort of thing. But so a violent storm is actually a good thing, that from the school of thought, well, we need a forest fire every now and then, that sort of thing.
Which is true. Yeah. Which is true. But and it's true in a way that people don't often think about. So again, going back to the original edutainment.
There we go. And,
goal of Epcot, that makes sense.
And as you mentioned, you then move through the biomes, you do the rainforest, then you get to the desert, and finally you arrive at the American prairie where you've got your farmhouse to the left, and then you have your buffaloes across the way there. And
prairie dogs too, right?
And prairie dogs. And, by the way, there is a story out there about how the buffalo that you look at in this attraction were actually built for Western River Exposition. The attraction
for the Magic Kingdom.
For the Magic Kingdom. That initially that park wasn't supposed to have a Pirates of the Caribbean. They were supposed to have a musical comedy celebration of cowboys and Indians. And I flat out asked Mark at one point, is this story true? Is that, were those buffaloes actually built for Western River? And he said, yeah. But he said it was because the one thing that, that Imagineers management balked at, that a gag that he had set up at the beginning of the attraction is you had a cowboy with a guitar starting the theme song for Western River Expedition, and then his backup singers were the buffaloes, and it was one of these things where it's like, evidently management at WDI were like, I don't know if I buy buffaloes and backup singers
from the same company who gave us Country Bear Jamboree, but okay, all right,
but that was
sounds
the thing.
Kind of speciesist to me.
Yeah, well, right. But that's the thing. Mark had some developed money, and so it's like, all right, well, build two buffaloes, and then
got some money to build some buffalo. All right,
there we go.
Ahead.
And then he convinces Bill Justice to program them, and but here's the part that I, as a long time Van Halen fan, I know you will love, because which of the albums ends with Happy Trails?
Diver Down.
Okay, that's what he has the buffaloes sing.
The buffalo singing the Van Halen version of Happy Trails. That's kind of perfect.
It is,
And this was what year? 80.
they had them in the warehouse to grab in 81. So they had done the test, I want to say 4 or 5 years earlier. So this would have...
that makes sense, because Diver Down came out in 82, so the soundtrack would have been available.
Okay. All right.
For them to actually...
Well, I mean, he had them...
Makes sense. Yeah.
He had them sing the Happy Trails. I don't know if he actually had them do the... what is it? The actual Van Halen version.
No, but it would have been in the pop culture zeitgeist around then because of that song. Okay.
Okay. Right. But anyway, to bring us full circle here. But this was the more serious version. When Listen with the Land went
the more serious version of the Singing Buffalo.
There we go. But for me, you got to remember that last week when we floated through this thing, the Living Laboratory section with all of its now colorful holiday treatment. This facility is actually operated on Disney property in cooperation with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I mean, in fact, the arm of the USDA that does the Agriculture Research Service.
The ARS,
I mean, they are doing government-sanctioned experiments behind that glass in regard to tissue culturing, plant propagation, genetic transformation of crops, and not to mention groundbreaking work with hydroponics and irrigation methods and integrated, pest management and all that. So try to keep that in mind the next time you're in there, folks, looking into the pretty Christmas decorations. That again, there's some serious stuff going on past the silly snowmen. So
I think, I mean, it's true. I think one of the things that's been consistent with Epcot ever since it opened is this attraction and how it's remained completely faithful to the original Epcot narrative of education and entertainment at the same time, and especially using plants, which is something that everyone can relate to. I got to say, the first time I did hydroponics, I did it because of Living with the Land.
Yep. Yeah, it's just kind of interesting to bring this up now because to have this. To be talking about this opening day Epcot attraction the week that the World Celebration Gardens opens, and just to
see old Epcot and new Epcot together,
and both taking on plants in their own way. So,
I mean, I love the idea that Disney hasn't changed this attraction, and then. The other interesting thing is, you and I went on this with 100 other people at like 9:15 in the morning, and there was already a 15-minute line. For this attraction on not a busy day. So I think the more people who know about this, the more people will enjoy it. Like I don't know of anyone who has a bad thing to say about this attraction, and that goes to show that like the original idea is still good 40 years later. That's a testament to how well some of this stuff was planned.
On the other hand, again, if someone at Disney is seriously thinking about bringing the Planet of the Apes characters into the park, just go back, take another look at Marineland of the Pacific. This might,
you'll know what not to do. Yeah,
there we go. So,
and I want to give a quick recommendation here for the behind the scenes tour at Living with the Land, because if you haven't done it, it's really inexpensive. I think it's less than $20 per person. You get like a 1-hour tour of the greenhouses themselves. I went on it once with Bob Selinger, and we were basically acting like it was the Willy Wonka factory tour. We're trying to eat samples of plants, without the guide looking and everything. It was kind of great, but so don't do that. But definitely try the tour. It's a great, very inexpensive little slice of behind the scenes Epcot. It's a great value and it's a great attraction.
Cool.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. You can help support the show by subscribing over at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media, where we're posting exclusive shows every week. And with every show we release, we have multiple follow-up shows, including answers to questions y'all send in, plus special longer director's cuts of each show, and lots more. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len at touringplans.com. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Hersey, the defending men's elite solo artistic champion, with a new spin on the classic left backhand release double knuckle pop and other tricks at the 2024 Snow Festival Open Baton Twirling Competition. It's an open, so everyone's invited, on Saturday, January 13th, 2024, at Cosby High School on Fox Club Parkway in beautiful downtown Midlothian, Virginia. While Eric's doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We'll see you on the next show.